Hey guys, it's David Broderick with Innovative Canine Academy.
And Chad Hunter with Hunter Canine, and this is our buddy Hudson.
And today we're going to talk about the crate. So first we're going to go over misconceptions with the crate. One of the biggest misconceptions we of course hear is that this is abuse, that dogs don't like their crate. So let's step off with that.
Okay, so one of the most common reasons of why somebody doesn't like to utilize a crate with their dog is first and foremost, they think, why would I put my dog in there? It's punishment. It could be very easily understood that I wouldn't put my kid in the room all day. Why would I put my dog in a crate all day long? But little do people know is that even a perfect prime example of my buddy here, the purpose of kind of having him here for this little demonstration. This dog is my personal dog. He's 7 years old. He's in a crate right now with the door wide open. I find him all the time. If I can't find him in the house, I will find him in the crate with the door wide open, passed out and sleeping, because from the time he was 8 weeks old, from the time I brought him home from an airport as a little teeny tiny cute little French Bulldog puppy, I have utilized a crate. So again, that's the most common misconception, is that it's a terrible place to put my dog, and they call it solitary confinement is the way some people like to define that. I think going into that closely, the second misconception people have is they talk about having psychological and behavioral issues. What do you think people mean when they talk about that?
So of course you're going to have barking that can potentially happen, them trying to scratch the door, bite the sides of the kennel, those types of things. I've even heard of dogs hurting themselves, but rarely does that ever come from actually being in the crate. That's from not properly training your dogs to use the crate, not properly conditioning them to the crate, and not teaching them that it's a good place and that they can actually go in there and relax. So most puppies, especially, you put them in there for the first time and they're not going to want to go in there and just hang out in there because they want to be with you. They just left their litter mates. There's a number of reasons why they're not going to want to go in this crate and be isolated. But we go through a process to teach it, just like Chad had touched on. When he brought Hudson home at 8 weeks old, he did not just put Hudson in the crate and just leave for an hour. So there are things that we do to condition our dogs to the crate, train them to go into it. We call them crate games. And so let's talk about some of the crate games that you do, and I'll talk about some of the ones that I do.
So the easiest thing for me to do with my puppy at a very young age, most puppies are very food motivated. They're just weaned from their mom. They come home at about 8 weeks old. Again, they have that high food drive. Being able to just feed my dog in that crate on a regular basis is probably the #1 way for me to be able to get my dog comfortable with the idea of going into their crate. Even involving the family, involving the kids, nothing is more rewarding than having your 8 or 9-year-old, daughter or son or any age kid be able to, hey, head to the pantry, grab the puppy's food, put them in their crate, and here's their ration of food for the morning or for the evening. So they're getting fed their breakfast or their dinner. Not only that, but it creates a good positive mindset for the kids, so the kids have a good understanding and respect for the crate. But I think you soon start to find the second you head for that pantry, reach for that bag of dog food, you'll see your he'll head straight for his crate. He'll sit in there with the door wide open, look at me. He doesn't have a tail, but he'll do his little butt shake. That means he's happy, and he has a very good association with knowing, hey, I get fed in here. But on top of feeding a dog in a crate, kind of the next step of that is teaching a dog how to kind of turn their brain off in the crate, and that's a very important aspect. And why don't we talk about what that means about being able to have a dog turn their brain off?
I mean, I need to occasionally, right? We all do. We work hard. We are doing things throughout the day. Our mind is constantly going. If we can't just go turn our brain off, of course, we're going to go stir crazy. We're going to have behavioral issues just the same as a dog might. And so puppies especially, they need a lot of sleep. So I relate this to my kids. I have a 4-year-old daughter and a 7-year-old son. If they don't get their naps throughout the day, Aspen and DJ, they start to fight. They might cry, they yell, they throw tantrums and that kind of a thing. Dogs can do the exact same thing. Puppies need a lot of sleep, and I don't think a lot of people realize how much sleep they actually need to be able to function correctly. So one of the biggest things that I hear is 7, 8 o'clock at night, I get my client saying that their puppy's doing barrel rolls off of their couch. They're burming the side of their couch, the walls, they're bouncing.
Hot laps,
exactly. So that comes pretty typically around that you know, later part of the day because the puppy wasn't getting enough sleep throughout the day. DJ and Aspen do the same thing. They just manifested a little bit different than my puppy might. My puppy might bark, they might bite me, they might destroy my rug, do those hot laps as Chad called them, those types of things, just because they didn't get enough sleep throughout the day. And so
So sorry to interrupt, but to stem off of this here, from what you're saying, as we talk about what can we do as for fun games to encourage our dogs to go in the crate is, as he says, he's kind of, we'll call it nap time as a component as he's talking about here. Being able to teach my dog to very easily go in the crate even when I am home, because I find a very common issue with the fact that we only crate, if we do use our crates, we only use our crate when we leave the house. So your dog immediately has an association with, I go in the crate, that means you're leaving. So then you trying to gather up your dog. We're all guilty of going to the pantry, grabbing my dog's favorite treat, throwing it in the crate, or doing whatever we can to get the dog in the crate. Yes, the dog will do it, but the dog doesn't really still have that positive mindset we want to have on the crate. It starts to develop separation anxiety because now they're associating you with leaving, and it just creates that kind of stem of problems. So again, talking about nap time here, as I kind of cut off Dave, but being able to put the dog in the crate, the same reason of I'm going to be home even when I put my daughter to sleep, when I put my son down for a nap. I'm going to put my puppy in the crate while I'm going to go upstairs, finish a load of laundry, and do some chores around the house for half an hour. And not only that, but to stem off that, which we'll talk about here in a second, is that when I get my puppy out of that crate, even after a 30-minute nap, they're excited to see me. They're ready to work. They're intrigued to the idea of, now I get to come out, and now what are we going to do? And that's where we implement our training, which we obviously talk about here. So again, we've got our utilizing feeding our food first and foremost, continually using and building the game of feeding your dog in that crate, but also putting your puppy in there for short durations of time throughout the day. Let's talk about utilizing the crate overnight. I mean, what age do you start crate training with your dogs?
So ideally the day they come home. So just like Chad said, you know, you pick your dog up from the airport. I remember the video you guys did of Katsaka at 4 weeks old, already teaching her to just go in, come out, go in, come out. Now that doesn't mean that they were putting her in there for 8 hours a day. They were probably putting her in, she was 4 weeks old at the time, and probably what, 5, 10, 15 minutes max, just getting her to go in there and getting her used to it. But I start literally the day that I bring my puppy home, I start getting them used to it. If I'm just hanging out somewhere, I have my crate right next to me. I put something in the crate that my puppy likes, whether it's a Kong ball that's got some frozen goodies in it, some type of
Kong is perfect.
Yep, something like that. You've got bully sticks and antlers, something that to keep your puppy active in there, and it's going to completely forget about me, and just going back to what Chad said, shutting their brain off for a little bit. That's the key point there. And then being able to just say, okay, you know, mom, dad, whoever is right there, I can just hang out here. I don't have to scream. I don't have to bark. And I don't just go, same thing. I don't just go and put them in the crate and leave for 2 hours and expect them to enjoy it, because they're not going to. That is exactly where you're going to train separation anxiety. So definitely getting them used to it while I'm right there is very important.
So as we talk about like little things we can do to encourage it, let's talk about the overall benefits. I think to stress the most important parts of a crate and why we even introduced that. So I mean, I think between David and I and combined over 25, 30 years of dog training experience, there's probably 15, maybe even close to 20,000 dogs that we've had our hands on. I can tell you that every single one of those dogs, every dog that has left our training program and even David's program, they go home understanding the idea of a crate. Whether mom and dad use that and utilize that at home, they've been taught, they've learned the benefits, what we're gonna talk about now. But again, every dog that I have ever put my hands on understands the basis of crate train. So for me, one of the most important aspects is when people ask me, Chad, my dog has housebreaking issues. Well, to really stem down to the basis of everything, what proper potty training really means is my dog is properly crate trained. So to say my dog is housebroken really just means my dog has a very good understanding of crate training. Okay, so let's talk about this. Let's exploit on the idea of utilizing a crate for potty training. David, let's talk about what that means.
So the huge benefit of using a crate for potty training is it's a small area. Most puppies have learned from a young age that they don't necessarily want to go to the bathroom where they're at and then lay in it, sit in it, even be around it. And so if they have the opportunity to go to the bathroom over here in the corner of my kitchen, of my living room, and then go completely away from it and lay down and go to sleep, that's what they're going to do. So I can use the crate to give my puppy a small area that it can sleep. It's a lot less likely to go to the bathroom in there, and it can build up its ability to hold it for, in the beginning, 15 minutes, then 30 minutes, then an hour, then 2 hours, then 4 hours, and build up their ability to hold, not needing to go to the bathroom. And then as soon as I bring them out, I take them outside, I get them to go to the bathroom, I praise them, tell them what a good job they did. And now they're learning, I don't go to the bathroom in here, I only go out there on that green stuff or on the rocks or on the wood chips, whatever the case, wherever we want them to go to the bathroom. And now they're learning to not do it in my house. I'm a big believer, and I'm sure you're the same, in not allowing bad behaviors to start from a puppy. I don't allow my puppies to chew on the furniture and then say, well, I'll fix it at a year old. I don't allow them to bite me and jump on me and do those types of things and say, I'll fix it when they're older. I want my puppy to act as if it's already an adult dog, and I'm gonna start to implement those things. So I'm gonna start very good potty behaviors, not allowing them to ever go to the bathroom in my house from a very young age.
I'd like to go back real quick and hit on the idea talking about duration and length of time, especially in conjunction with the age of a dog and the length of a time a puppy should be in the crate. So again, you mentioned, we talked about our puppy. We have my girlfriend and I, we have a puppy when she was 4 weeks old. We started literally from the time that she was weaned from mom. She came from a singleton litter, so she was weaned at a much early age as she was the only puppy in the litter. We started a crate train with her immediately. But like you said, 4 weeks old, 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there. But I'm gonna really hit on the idea, every single time that your dog comes out of their crate, whether they are 4 weeks old or whether they are 14 years old, that dog needs to go outside to go to the bathroom. That is the idea of housebreaking. Every time I come out of my crate, no matter what length of time it is, I have the opportunity to go to the bathroom. And if you want to get even more precise, that you're gonna take that dog to that designated spot as a young puppy. Hey, I don't like my puppy peeing over here because my grass turns yellow and has a nasty stain. I promise you, if you take even 2 or 3 weeks and show your dog that specific spot in the rocks, you walk them out on a leash in the middle of the night when you're pottying that puppy, you take them outside, you're gonna show them precisely where you want them to go to the bathroom, they'll pick up on it very quickly and they'll now be able to save your lawn, and they know now where you want them to go to the bathroom. So again, talking about that length of time is that I say by the time those puppies, a common age, we get our puppies at about 8 weeks old. I think it's a very common age that people come home with their puppies. For me, I like to kind of have a 3 to 4 hour rule. So if I go to bed at 10 o'clock, I'm gonna set an alarm for usually 2 p.m. and another one, make sure I'm getting up at about 6 a.m. If I've got a little tiny dog, maybe with even a smaller bladder, maybe like my toy breeds, smaller breeds, maybe I'll go to make like a 3 hour time frame. But again, I'm doing that only until maybe about the first 4 weeks that dog is home. So about till that puppy's about 12 weeks of age or 3 months of age. And then at that point in time, because of how I'm successful, or excuse me, with how I am utilizing the crate, I have not had a dog. I've owned probably over 30, 40 dogs in my lifetime. My dogs are pretty much crate trained and can go about anywhere from 6 to 8 hours in their crate through the night by the time they're about 3 to 4 months old, just by using that idea. Again, continually reinforcing the idea. Every time we come out of the crate, we go outside, we go to the bathroom. So that's a big proponent on how one of the huge perks and benefits of using the crate to reinforce housebreaking. So the idea I like to instill in all of my clients is to have them continually thinking, whenever you cannot provide feedback, I want you to utilize the crate. So what that means is being able to use the crate, put the dog in the crate for the times that you can't give the feedback. You're putting the kids to bed. You're gonna run to the gas station, grab a gallon of milk. You're gonna be gone for even a short duration of time as much as you're gone for a long duration of time. You're gonna still utilize that crate because you cannot give the dog the feedback. So absolutely your puppy that's been rocking it at 6 months old, even with their crate train, it is almost guaranteed they're gonna make an accident in the house if you leave for that long of time and not willing to give them feedback or to watch them. You know, housebreaking is a process that takes a very long time. Well, I don't want to say a long time, but lots of consistency over a period of time. And by the time that dog is anywhere from 6 months to a year old, they're going to have a pretty good concept of waiting to go outside to go to the bathroom.
Yep. And just going kind of even past that, of course, we use it for potty training, but we're also going to use it to stop destructive behavior. So you bring Hudson home at 8 weeks old. At 12 weeks old, he starts getting a little bit more active. You leave him out of the house and he goes over to your baseboard. He goes over to your kitchen cabinets, your leather couch, your rug, and he starts chewing those. So that is also another place that we're going to use it to stop those bad behaviors before they ever happen. So
now that we've talked about the benefits with housebreaking, and we kind of went into depth of actually how to use it to teach a dog to be housebroken, let's talk about some more of the positive sides of crate once your crate is properly introduced and trained to your dog. For me, it comes down to safety. I travel with my dog. I am a huge fan of having a crate, my dog in a crate in the car. Nothing is worse than a 65-pound projectile, even just in a rear-end collision at 25 miles an hour. I mean, I've heard of horror stories. My dog be able to be in that confined space. Not only that, but it keeps them calm. There's a reason you put your child in a car seat when you drive down the freeway. There's a reason why your kid has a booster chair, even as he gets a little older, because it becomes a safety concern at that point in time. Your 6-month-old lab puppy bouncing back and forth from side to side to window and hanging their head out the window, as cute as that is, it honestly gives me nightmares thinking about it, because I've seen and heard of terrible things that have happened to dogs just because of lack of control in the car by simply not being able to utilize a crate. To stem off of the safety aspect of things, we want to talk about, let's talk about an emergency situation. So this is huge. This is one of the biggest reasons of why I like to be able to tell people that regardless of how good your dog is in the house, they need to be comfortable with the crate, because heaven forbid your dog breaks their leg. You go to the vet, dog puts pins and plates, whatever's in your dog's leg. For 6 to 8 weeks, where is that veterinarian going to tell you to place your dog? The answer is right here. If your dog is not comfortable going in a crate, if your dog has separation anxiety going in a crate, or you are not a believer or proponent in a crate, I have news for you. You're gonna put your dog at a much further risk, because it is gonna be 6 to 8 weeks of hell, let's just say, because that dog is gonna learn, that dog is gonna understand, I don't like being in here. My mom has created the idea of me not having to like this. Every time I've whined in this as a puppy, I was able to get out of there, and now I have a broken leg and I have to go in here, And then now you're destructive. That is where these misconceptions we previously spoke about stem from, is because now I've taken a dog who's 5 years old that's never had to go in a crate. He is now instructed by a veterinarian that he needs crate rest, and I stick him in that crate, you better believe that I'm gonna have behavioral problems.
Yep. And potentially hurting himself much worse. You know, he goes in there and says, I don't like this. So he starts clawing, he starts kicking and screaming and everything, and hurts himself much worse than he was just with his broken bones. So I know it was a big helper for me. My old dog, Akira, that just passed away recently, when she was 4 months old, she fell asleep underneath the truck in my garage. I started to back up, not knowing she was even in the garage. I started to back up, and all of a sudden I hear a little yelp. And so I immediately stop. I pull forward a little bit. Well, come to find out, my 4-month-old German Shepherd puppy fell asleep underneath my truck, and luckily all my truck tire did was just roll up on her leg and broke it in one spot, and she had to have pins. But that was 2 months of crate rest, that if she wasn't already conditioned to be enjoying the crate, going in the crate, that would have been very, very difficult. It was also completely on the leash.
Especially for a 4-month-old German Shepherd puppy.
Especially for a 4-month-old German Shepherd puppy that, you know, we lived on a decent amount of property, so she was used to running around, but she did know the crate, and she also knew, to a degree, leash skills. She was still very young, but that's another thing that just for the safety, the crate is huge. So absolutely.
Let's talk about some of the other scenarios we're gonna have to use the perks and the benefits of a crate.
Yeah, so both Chad and I both have facilities where we board dogs that we've trained. Any dog that's come through our training program, we are willing to board them. And so, for example, you go out of town for Thanksgiving, you need somewhere to board your dog. You're going out of town for the weekend for a work event. We use crates here, so we also want them to be very used to being in a crate. Other boarding facilities are also going to use crates or small kennels, so having them be accustomed to that is very important. If I take my dog to the vet, you know, I know there's been times where I've had to take my dog to the vet, especially right now, where I can't even go in with them, and the vet has to put them in a crate for a short amount of time, or even a longer period of time, getting them used to that. Groomers, there's a number of places, or I go to my family member's house, and maybe my dog isn't as well trained, or it has behavioral issues,
Maybe mom
or
doesn't like dogs in the house.
maybe mom doesn't like the hair in the house. Any of those situations, I can say, no problem. My dog goes in a crate. It can wait there and it's safe. I know where it is. Nothing bad can happen.
Good.
So those are some of the things that I think of, but let's talk about crate size.
Yeah, so as we talk about the benefits of the crate, another very important concept of the crate is making sure we have the proper size of the crates. As many people get a dog, they say, oh, I have a Great Dane puppy. It's this big now, but it's gonna be this big in the next probably 6 to 10 months.
And I don't wanna buy 2 crates.
And I don't wanna buy 2 crates, so therefore, they go to the store, they buy a big crate, they put the puppy in the crate, they call me because they can't understand why their 6-month-old puppy is consistently defecating and urinating in the crate overnight. Well, the answer is the crate is too big. As David explained earlier, dogs are naturally denning animals. They're not gonna wanna have to lay or sleep where they defecate or where they urinate. So with that being said, being able to use a spot just big enough to where the dog can stand up as per definition, big enough to where the dog can stand up, turn around, lay down comfortably is the sufficient amount of space we need to utilize for a dog in a crate. So yes, that means if you want a Great Dane, you're probably gonna invest in probably 2 or 3 crates throughout that dog's lifespan if you want the proper skills. A lot of people are big fans of the crates with the dividers in them. I encourage those are great to have. But even as I have my little demo buddy here, little Hudson, and just chilling in his crate, as comfy as it might look in there for him with all that extra space, believe it or not, this crate here is just a little too big for him. I'd actually go probably about a size down for him. He doesn't need all that extra space. Now as an adult dog, okay, he's completely fine going in there, but especially for a puppy, to talk about the housebreaking concept we just hit on, is that the idea with too big of a crate, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, my bladder's full, I really gotta go potty. You know what, I'm just gonna go pee over here in the corner, and I've got enough space to where I can go over here and I can stand up and maybe even get comfy over here without having to lay in the pee. When your puppy learns that the very first time they try it, I promise you, you're gonna create a monster, because now you have a dog that is going to consistently pee in the crate, consistently poop in the crate, and you're still trying to troubleshoot why. They have a big crate, they have a bed, they have toys in there. Why are they still doing this? So again, the size of the crate is super important. The height can be important for taller and for shorter dogs. Obviously, he's a very short dog. But we have dogs, if your dog has big pointing ears, I wouldn't go necessarily worry about the reference of where the dog's ears are touching. Go by where the dog's head is at. But again, the length of the crate is gonna really be your big factor with having the proper size of crate. And then as your dog gets older, you can kind of progress. But again, even this crate for an adult dog, he would be fine in this crate, but realistically, I could go 1 size smaller with him, even 2 sizes smaller, and he'd be completely content and fine, because that's all he knows since day 1.
Yep. And now I'm gonna go touch back on traveling with a dog and a crate. I get the question all the time, is this crate too small for my dog to fit in while we're traveling? Well, actually for me, I prefer a crate that's a little bit smaller, because the less room that my dog has to jar around, heaven forbid an accident does happen, the less likely they are to get hurt. So at least for me, while I'm traveling, my crates are a little bit smaller for my dogs. And then at home, like Chad said, he could have a crate twice this size for Hudson. He's not gonna have accidents in it. It's not really gonna matter, but he also doesn't need that much room. And then for a vehicle, I prefer something that's smaller and keeps them safer, because it doesn't have all the room for them to bounce around. So we've talked about the size, we've talked about potty training, misconceptions, all kinds of stuff. Let's talk about what we should put in. So I just brought my 8-week-old puppy home. What should I put in the crate to make sure that they're happy, they're content, they have everything that they need? What does that mean?
So what I put in the crate, again, is gonna be determined on the age of the dog. An 8-week-old puppy, if I put a full-size water bucket on the door, you are going to continually, no matter what size of crate you have, you're gonna continue to deal with a puppy that's gonna be peeing in the crate. They're gonna be lapping that water, they're gonna get excited overnight, they're gonna maybe start playing with that water, flip over the water bowl. Puppies like to get in the habit of doing that type of thing. And again, you're gonna create kind of a monster, as we say. So an 8-week-old puppy, normally with puppies that young, even up to maybe 4, even up to 6 months of age, is that I'll go ahead and cut their water supply supply by usually 4 or 5 o'clock, depending on what your bed schedule is. They've got plenty of time to have access for in their crate with water throughout the day is fine. Take a little small water bucket hanging on there. They don't need a whole lot of water, just enough to have to lap if they're a little thirsty. But again, I'm taking a resource such as food, such as water. I'm feeding my dog in the crate. I'm also giving them access to water in the crate. So the food bowl, we're big believers in not having to free feed our dogs. We do not believe in free feeding, is what I'm trying to say here.
Yep.
So being able to take my dog's food, I set the food bowl down. 5-10 minutes is even pushing it, in my opinion.
Max, yep.
Pull that food bowl out, that dog is done. They're going to learn really quickly. Also, to eat on a schedule, which makes your life that much easier. You want to travel, you want to go places, you want to do things. You have a dog that you know is going to eat right on their schedule, as opposed to a free fed dog, to where food is just laying around there all the time, and then the food loses its value, and again, it creates a kind of a different series of issues that we have to deal with. So when I put in there, everyone likes it. One of the most favorite things for people to do, I like to go to PetSmart or Petco. I buy that fun, flashy, pink, fluffy bedding for the dog. Not something I highly recommend to put in there for puppies. Maybe you can even put a towel in there, but the problem is when I put something such as that towel or that bedding in there for such a young puppy, if that puppy pees in the crate and heaven forbid makes an accident, that towel, that bedding absorbs the urine. And when that happens, the puppy's a lot easier. It's a lot easier for that puppy to get comfortable and just go back to sleep. When it might sound a little mean, but at the same time, if that puppy makes an accident in that crate, I want them to have to deal with having to put their paws in it. They don't like that. I want them to have that sensation of, ooh, I really don't like this. And I promise you, they're gonna learn very quickly that I've only had puppies, sometimes they make one accident like that and they're done with it. They are willing to hold that, go through the entire night, and you're creating now good habits. So bedding is something that my dogs can earn over a period of time as they get older. I don't like to put bedding in dogs' crates when they're here with us for training, just because I'd sometimes deal with dogs that get stressed. They might get anxious overnight, and then I have to make a phone call. Hey, your dog ate half of their bed last night, and now they have to go to a vet and have an emergency impaction surgery. So be careful with that with your puppies. We'll let you guys make that discretion, but definitely something you can offer for an older dog.
Yep. Yeah, so my older dogs all have beds in their crates and that kind of a thing. But exactly like Chad talked, if I have an 8-week-old puppy and I go put a towel in there, a nice fluffy bed, guess what? The first thing they're going to learn as well is to chew on it. So now they have all the time in the world to hang out in here, but now they're learning to chew on my towels, my rugs. It turns into socks, it turns into my couch, all of those things, all because I allowed them to learn that behavior in their crate. So when my puppy is young, just like Chad said, pretty much the bare minimum's in here. If they have a good durable toy like a Kong toy that we've stuffed with something to keep them occupied, there's Bobble-Lot toys, there's a couple different things that I will put in there, but bedding and free feeding, those types of things, definitely not in there. And then as they get older, like Chad said, I'll have them out on a bed, I'll put them on their bed and I'll let them see if they're going to chew on it, and that way I can communicate, hey, don't do it. And then once they've learned not to do it in there, I feel more comfortable putting it in the crate.
Yep. And as we talk about items, putting in the crates, obviously bed, water, food, we've kind of clarified that. Toys, as David said earlier, putting a Kong in there, I'm fine with a toy, maybe 2 toys if I'm feeling a little extra giving that day. But again, my dog doesn't need multiple toys in a crate. The idea of a crate is to actually turn your brain off. Sometimes you get in the habit, people put too many toys in the dog's crate. Then your dog is 2 o'clock in the morning playing with this toy, playing with that toy, squeaking this toy, and you can't figure out why you're not getting sleep at night. So my puppies, I like to be able to offer maybe that chew toy, that bully stick. My puppy's in there, been in there for 45 minutes. She's quiet, she's laying down, she's sleeping. I might open up that crate door, stick through that gate. I might stick in that bully stick or that toy and give them something to chew on, kind of maybe as a reward at that point in time. But I'm just as capable of being able to take it away if it becomes a nuisance thing where they're continually chewing on it and slamming it against the crate. So again, I want to keep the idea of being able to go in there and turn your brain off, and not so much about how many toys can we have in there.
Absolutely, yeah. One toy that just keeps them occupied. Like if I leave, I'll throw a toy in there to try to keep them occupied thinking about that versus thinking about me. But definitely at night, having toys in there where they're just playing around, banging it around, making a bunch of commotion, and obviously not sleeping is counterproductive.
Good. So again, to recap, there are a multitude of reasons of why we want to utilize a crate, why we like to use crates. Again, David and I mean, with the exception of Hudson being here with me right now, I tell everybody, I make the saying, you know, where are my 7 dogs right now? I have 7 dogs between my girlfriend and I. Hudson is here now. My 6 other dogs, they're inside the house in a crate. My trained dogs are in their crate right now because, first of all, that's where they're going to choose, even if I tell them to go there and not, because they love their crates very much. But it also, I know I'm going to walk into a house to where there's no issues with housebreaking, nothing is going to be destroyed, and even an old dog can come up with new bad habits because of lack of consistency or lack of understanding with the crate. In other words, I have a 7-year-old dog that might become destructive because now he's getting bored in the house. If my dog is good and understands the idea of going back to square one, having to utilize that crate, as I say, dogs, they earn their freedom in the house. By any means, we're not saying that a dog needs to live in a crate for the rest of their life. We're just hitting on the fact that it's a very important tool, and I think you'll find that your dog's gonna like it a lot more than you think if you start it from square one.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we've been here anywhere from about 30 to 45 minutes now. My buddy Hudson has sat in his crate the entire time. You've seen him kind of going from up and down. He's wanted to get out of there a few times. He's thought about it. He actually saw a rabbit a little earlier over there, but he knew to stay in there. So now the fun part for him, we get to finish up. We're gonna go ahead and release him. He's gonna come out of his crate. Hudson, you ready? Okay, let's go. Free, good boy, yay!
Woo, buddy!